Hi, my name's Carol Hassel, and I am currently the chairman of the board of directors at the Charlotte Spirituality Center. Uh, Today, I am interviewing Reverend Susan Heafner Heun. We are doing these interviews on behalf of the center so that you might see and meet the faces of the Charlotte Spirituality Center. We'd like for you to hear from folks who have been in our program, what drew them to the program, what their experience was while they were in the program, and then what are they doing now beyond the Charlotte Spirituality Center. So welcome, Susan. It's good to have you today.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. Great to be here.
Good, good. Susan, go ahead and tell us about yourself and then what drew you to the center.
Sure. So I am an ordained elder in the United Methodist Church, and I serve in Western North Carolina. And funny enough, I finished seminary in the year 2000, and when I came out of seminary as United Methodist, the bishop tells us where to go, and the bishop has kept me around the Charlotte area, which Charlotte is home for me, so it's been kind of nice to still be close to home. Currently, I am serving the Vine United Methodist Church, which is right in the heart of Plaza Midwood in Charlotte, which has been so wonderful, has been a great place. And I am from the east side of Charlotte, so it's great to be back on the east side of town. I am a wife to John Heun, and we have been married 16 years, and we have two wonderful, lively, energetic, independent daughters. Ava, who just turned 10, and Olivia, who just turned 7. And we just moved to the Weddington area about 10 months ago, and we picked this particular spot with the hopes of maybe having some retreat space. We're doing a lot of fixing up and working, but we're on about 3.5 acres on a lake, and we have some woods and just some wonderful space for anybody to come and just have space to be.
Nice, very nice. Wow. Yeah. Susan, what drew you to training and education for spiritual direction and to the Charlotte Spirituality Center? What drew you there?
Right. So let's see. I graduated from the program 2018? 2018. 2000, yeah. So 3 years prior to that, I had been serving in 2 places. I had done a new church start in the Lake Norman area, and was this a wonderful new church start, a community called Inclusion Community. I mean, it was perfect. It was idyllic. Where our space really was, and our mission really was, to create a safe place for people to experience God. It was a new church start that was very intentionally small. So our Sunday gatherings were in the round, and it always was participatory. So we would have music, we would have prayer, we would have centering, and then I would maybe read a scripture or even another piece of literature or poetry or something, and then would open up the space for conversation. And I really felt like that was the best way for people to grow deeper in their faith. I thought when worship doesn't allow for people to have that kind of space, then not that it's not meaningful, but there's just a depth to conversation and a depth to participation that we don't often get during worship. And what I found was that really was a sweet spot that I felt like ministers and church people didn't get to experience. And that sweet spot was so authentic. It was so genuine. And it was just this space that was holy. And so I thought, and I felt this pull to understand more about that sweet spot. And how could I really enter into it and hold it and hold a place for other people? And so that's what led me into spiritual direction. I wanted someplace close by so that I could be with people in person. I didn't want to do it virtually. I didn't want to have to fly in and fly out. I wanted to be able to connect with people around a table a little more often. And so that's how I ended up at the Spirituality Center.
Wonderful. Yes. And that's where I met you in class there.
Yeah.
Yes. Wonderful. So while you're at the center, what maybe some highlights of your experience there, or some challenges, or just what was that experience like for you?
Yeah. Well, for me, it was refreshing. I appreciate diversity of language in talking about God and the divine. I
Mhm.
appreciate conversation. I think that God meets us in storytelling. And so I found that there was a space for people to share their stories, and we got to hear stories and writings and readings and conversation. And that there was a space for me to share my story. And I think what was a bit of a transformational moment was I felt very led into that space. And there was this moment, though, that I remember kind of sitting there, because all the people at the Spirituality Center are so awesome. And they all have this really cool vibe about them, this really great, like you just want to be next to them because you know you're going to learn something, or you're going to,
Yeah.
and there's a bit of depth and this stillness and certainty and peacefulness. And there was this moment that I had that was like, maybe I'm not the right person, because I'm a little loud, and I'm an 8 on the Enneagram, so I'm kind of type A and kind of aggressive. And so I began to have this inner dialogue with myself going, maybe I'm not supposed to be a spiritual director, because they're all so cool and so calm and peaceful, and light a candle and sit next to the waves, and I'm a little more out there. And what I found in the midst of all of that was, and what I heard from being around a table of people, was they reminded me and affirmed me of who I am and what my gifts are, and that for me and my language, that God needed me, and that there's something about who I am that is needed for spiritual direction, and that I
Yes.
can sit with somebody and be exactly and create a space exactly for what that person needs. So
Mm,
I appreciated that affirmation.
yes. Wonderful. Yeah. Lovely. Lovely. Um, so, uh, so, how has, let me ask you this first.
Sure.
How has your experience and your coming into yourself and as a spiritual director, how has that impacted ministry,
Mhm.
your ministry?
Yeah, sure. I think, and let's see, I did 4 years of undergraduate education in religion, philosophy, ethics, and then I doubled with sociology. I did 3 years of a Master of Divinity, and I did 3 years of a Doctor of Ministry. And they were all great.
Yeah.
But for such a time as this, spiritual direction is my toolbox that I go to the most.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I just think, and I mean, really, for such a time as right now, for me, my call with spiritual direction is creating a space for people to encounter God, and that deep, holy listening, and and helping people notice God's working in this place, in this time, and in this space. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we as ministers do that is valuable, yes, but I think that is life-changing for people. I think it is soul-changing for people, and it happens in a brief encounter when somebody just stops by the office to do something, and there's a moment that we're given, and it might only be for 2 minutes, but it's a moment where we can help people engage in God's presence. Or it might be Sunday morning worship. It changes the way I do worship.
Mm-hmm.
That I don't see worship as, and I'm trying to help the congregation understand that worship is not just me standing up in the front and you're kind of watching this thing from afar, but this engagement, this embodiment of the text, and an embodiment of community. It's phone calls that I'm getting from people now who are struggling with
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of things and just need a space to talk about it, and a space that's not going to tell them what they're supposed to do or how they're supposed to think, but just honor where they are and listen to them. I just think the gift of holy listening is transformational for people and life-changing. And pastors, our egos get in the way a little too much. And if we would just step back and know that spirit is in that holy listening, and to participate in that is a true gift of ministry.
A true gift. Yes. Amen to all of that. As a pastor, I really resonate with everything that you just said. And spiritual direction it transformed me, and in the process transformed my sense and my way of being in ministry also. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And has reminded me of the accountability that I have to have somebody create a space for me to sit and be aware of God's presence.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, because I can't do it on my own, and I shouldn't. I mean, it's dangerous to do it on my own. And, you know, I think sometimes pastors, and I'll just speak for myself, we forget that, or we just, again, our ego gets in the way, that we need a space to encounter God, and to have somebody help us with that, companion us with that.
Absolutely. So as spiritual directors, we sit in spiritual direction for our own journeys, for our own self-awareness and opening to God, and deepening our life experiences in God. Yes.
Right.
Wow. Well, Susan, is there anything more you would like to say regarding, you know, your ministry and spiritual direction? I definitely want you to share whether or not you're currently taking clients for spiritual direction or offering spiritual direction. And if so, how could someone contact you?
I am always open to sitting and being with people. I find that space to just be holy ground and a gift. And they can contact me through email, Susan at The Vine, and it's like vine and branches, vines. It sometimes comes across as divine, but it's The Vine. The Vine.
Okay.
Susan at thevinecharlotte.com is probably the best way to be in touch with me. I love having those spaces for people. That really is my calling, is to create space. I like doing retreats. I like, I have a little bit of theatric in me, so I like metaphor and I like sensory. I love creating space for people to embody and engage and touch and taste and feel and smell the divine in all kinds of ways. So that's, so yes, I see a couple of people every now and then, here and there. This particular season has been full of congregation members, but I always have room and space for others to contact me. So yeah, and I guess currently what I'm working on is I'm creating some spaces for church people and others to have deep conversation about faith and race. That in particular right now is something that I am leaning into, and welcome anybody to help be a part of that time of holy listening and holy conversation.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. So glad you shared that. Well, Susan, thanks a million. It's good to hear your voice and see you, and we appreciate, on behalf of the Charlotte Spirituality Center, your willingness to share with us today.
Thank you. And I would just say to anybody, if they feel that nudge to connect with the Spirituality Center in all kinds of ways, whether it's with classes or just experiences or just having a conversation with a spiritual director. And there's such a incredible variety and diversity that there's just space for everybody. So yes. Thank you.
Awesome. Space for everybody. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.